Obviously, Santos, Teodo, both weren't really able to pitch right now, but they got re-signed today. Where do you kind of leave things with them as they proceed into their seasons?
We didn't see Teodo at all, obviously, so he just needs to go down, get healthy, and start pitching. And a couple of years ago, he was on the fast track, and so just getting back to where he is health-wise, and the conversation is just to be an option. And I think Santos get healthy and be an option. Santos, a little different story because of he got injured. The comebacker obviously hurt him, but the reality is I saw a different side of him, which I ended up growing to really love, which is he finished an outing after a broken hand against Wyatt Langford and Corey Seager. So that kind of shows you who he is. Yeah. A lot of guys are going to walk off, and honestly, some guys are getting carted off. Some of these, but not in our organization, around the league. So you saw the fight, the dog that he possesses inside, which that's stuff that I can't teach, and which those are the guys that you want on the mound, during a season that you want to fight with. So a lot of upside with both of them. Hopefully we see them at some point during the season.
While we're on that topic, where are they in their progression of being able to?
They're still a ways away, right? So, one guy's still battling a hand injury who can't catch yet, but his arm is still in shape. There's just another guy catching for him. The other guy is still trying to get back to getting on the mound. So, they're still a ways away. I don't have like a direct timeline for you because things are different injury-wise and how people progress, but I don't think it's too far into the season where you see them.
Santos, is he throwing bullpens or is he just playing catch?
He's long tossing, playing catch, and then I think he'll be on the mound again here pretty soon. It's just you want to have something in your hand to mimic the throw, right? So just a brace doesn't do any good. It's almost like a weight in your hand to throw, and I think that's kind of where we want him to get to before we do anything.
Speaking of Langford, since you mentioned him, I want to keep these transitions moving.
Okay. Don't remember mentioning.
He's had 2 good years. He maybe didn't tear up the league like we thought he would based on spring and what he'd done in his 6 weeks in the minors. What does he need to do to become an all-star, to get to that next level that he's probably headed for?
I think doing exactly what he's doing is just part of the progression of a young player, and I think in the league adjusts to you. It's how fast can you adjust to it. And he's adjusting, pretty quick. And I think him being, I don't want him thinking that he has to be somebody he's not, because he's a really good outfielder that I think when people start seeing him more and more of him, he'll win a Gold Glove more often than not. And then as far as middle of the order hitter, there's so many ways that he can change the game. And I think there's going to be more stolen bases. I think there's going to be more, first to thirds and doubles, and I think there's just so much more that you're going to see, only because he's still learning the big leagues, and he's very good at adjusting on the fly in between at bats, pitch to pitch. Those are the really good players that can adjust and don't have to wait a week or 2 weeks at a time. Sometimes it just takes guys a little bit longer than normal, and I wouldn't say it's taking him long. He's pretty damn good for how early on he is after the draft to be an impact bat in the big leagues. But I just think it's not just the hit tool. I think there's what makes him so attractive as a real leader of a club is he does everything well. Outfield, base running, hitting, and then as far as inside that clubhouse, I think he's as good as it gets.
You've got him hitting second today. Because of the base running, would you like him to be first or second, depending on the lineup, or could he be fourth or fifth?
Well, I think you want your best hitters up as many times as you can during a game. That's how I kind of see it. The game's kind of trended that way. Back in the day, it was your big boys hitting fourth, right? That sometimes limits 40 or 50 at-bats during a season that you don't get if you were more towards the top of the order. So I see him as one of our, best hitters in our lineup that I want up more often during the game. And I'll take my chances when Wyatt Langford gets 4 and 5 at-bats a game.
For the players that are leaving for the WBC, how do you maintain a relationship with them to find out what their progress is and what's happening with them?
Yeah, we're still in communication. The pitching guys or the hitting guys will be in communication with them. I'm texted a couple of them today already, and we watch every game. I mean, so it's the same thing if they were in spring training, and just if we weren't here, we would still be watching the game and reviewing it to see what they're doing. The good news is we got to know them a little bit here, at least I did, the guys that I didn't really have a relationship before. So you kind of understand how they're wired before they take off. But we're watching every single game just like we would if it was a B game and we got to review the next day.
When you send guys out like trying to do things, what's your message to them?
Well, those are private.
Right,
but no, I know what you're saying. I honestly, like, they're going to be sent down and built up. They just don't have a ton of innings right now. We don't have enough innings to give them because they're going to be built up as starters. But they're also real options later in the year, starter or reliever, depending on the need. But I think asking them questions on what they've the good and bad of camp, what they needed to work on, who impacted them, why they were impacted by who they're impacted by, whether there's a coach or a player, and then kind of walk through what the next steps are in their development. The last thing you want to give a guy when they break or when they are sent down, reassigned, whatever it is just, all right, good job, see you later, and they don't know exactly what they need to work on. So we gave them all the guys that we send out, we always give them things that we think they need to work on so they can apply it down there so they're not confused on what happened and why they didn't get another opportunity or a chance to break camp with us. So, but as far as those two guys, I mean, they haven't been in the organization too long, so their development is key. That's what the minor leagues are for. But they're on the right track. I mean, they impressed a lot of people inside that clubhouse.
So it's helpful. How helpful is it for you to see guys like that? The guys in that situation, the internal invites or non-roster guys. Really
It's extremely important. I mean, I take stock when I get the ball, when I take the ball away from them on the mound. Like, what's their demeanor? Are they shaking? And there's a lot of things that you look at, to see if they're built for this or not. And we're talking about a spring training game. So, and it's part of their development, right? I mean, they get to face real, guys that they have seen on TV for a long time, and they get to face them, and then they realize that they're human beings too, and they can make outs at the big league level if they just do what they're capable of doing and not try to, do too much or whatever it is. But I also believe that they know that they need to work on more things. They're not finished products. And both of them, as far as Pence and Trent, they know that they're not finished products. They're excited about where they're at, but they're also excited about the stuff they need to work on to get back up here.
Tyler Wade said that before he signed here, you reached out to him and said, hey, we'd love to have you, or something along those lines. What do you like about Tyler, and what have you seen from him this spring?
First of all, he hit a home run yesterday, so I'm really sad that I didn't see that. I mean, you only have so many homers, so I mean, that sucks. But so I apologized. But he is a perfect role player, in my opinion, because he can do so many things. The versatility is there. The compete inside the box, not trying to do too much. Coming off the bench is real. There's a lot of guys that have these that can't produce off the bench because they don't have these short, compact swings. And when that happens and they have these long swings, it's really challenging for bench players to produce in a pinch hit type of role. It's also, you try to figure out, if I give a guy a day off, who are you replacing that guy with that can also produce and help you win, and not just plug a guy in and hope for the best and see what happens, and then can't wait for the other guy to get back in the lineup the next day. He brings a different element. There's a different vibe in there with him around, inside the clubhouse, inside the dugout. He's a high energy, kind of all or nothing type of guy, which is great. He gives you everything he has every day, which the bench player, that's part of the role, is to bring some sort of value to the clubhouse and the vibes and the positivity and get the guys going. The everyday player doesn't always have the energy and the vibes at 600 bats in to like be that, you know, uplifting presence. So that's the role of a bench player quite, you know, a lot of times, and he understands that role. He's also producing. You'll see him a little bit at first base working in as well, moving forward. So he's done a really good job, you know, with the opportunity he's been given.
He also made a leaping catch at shortstop that you did not see.
I saw that.
You saw that?
Yeah, well, I have video of that.
Oh,
But the problem is I was there
Oh, I see. what you're
on the bench like this, watching it, and I didn't see the home run, and he had a double. So that is on me for sure. Yeah.
Does he have to play first base? I mean, because I guess you could technically have a need for a left-handed first baseman.
He doesn't have to, but he's never done it before, and I think it can only help him and us in moving it forward in his career and potential for versatility. So, you know, we're just looking for ways, you know, like I've said before, like roster construction is real. You know, just the always kind of what ifs, you know, you want to be ready for it. And we're trying to think about things like examples that I just don't want to get caught off guard, you know, just in case. And if something happens, and so we have options just in case.
You have a handful of players that are nearing the 10-year milestone. How big a deal is that, and how big was it for you?
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, there's only about a couple thousand that have ever done it. So, yeah, there's a small club that have achieved that mark, and you know that's why there's like ceremonies inside that clubhouse and presentations, because that's like one of the goals that, you know, guys try to achieve when they, you know, reach the big league, when they reach the big leagues. It's a lot easier to get to the big leagues. It is really tough to continue to play in the big leagues, and the average big leaguer is what, 2.5 years or something like that, their lifespan. So I think, you know, 10 years is incredible because of not only you have to produce for that long, but, you know, you start getting paid and people are trying to replace you because it's just the reality, because you get too expensive. So I think, you know, having a 10-year we have a lot of guys in there that, you know, are going to get 10 years or have 10 years. You know, it's a gigantic milestone.
Why is Evaldi now pitching in the backfield game? Because he faced him last time, or?
I just thought it was a good idea. Yeah, I want to see Gomber out there, and Evo can go down there, and I think there's stuff that Evo wants to work on that he can in a kind of a simulated game. And I thought it was a good idea for him to work on that down there, and we get to see Gomber here.
Do you guys have a target date for Nimmo yet to play in a game, or is that still open?
Yeah, we do. There is a target date.
Private.
Well, you asked the question. Yeah, most likely after the off day, you'll see Brandon. So yeah.
Against Brazil.
Most likely, yes. It's a high likelihood.
Are you treating that like a regular game? Like you're going to roll out guys?
I'm not. No. The tough part is after an off day.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're trying to figure out how not to give guys 2 days off, and because they want to get in a rhythm and their bats and everything. The good news is we have a lot of pitchers that are pitching that day. In like a live kind of sim game, also right before the game, like at noon. So you'll have 5 or 6 like of our pitchers throwing down there. So a lot of pitches, a lot of at bats out there to be had, and I think a lot of guys would rather face some of those guys down there. Because I don't know I know the roster, I just don't know who they are, quite honestly. And they know who they are down there, so there are going to be guys that are down there that are getting at bats, and then there's going to be, so it's not a split squad, but there are going to be guys that are having 4 or 5 guys that are getting real at bats down there, and then they'll play the night game in Kansas City. So I'm not rolling out but there are going to be 3 or 4 probably starters that will be out there, yeah.